Well, I think the difference with the MMO games is that they've actually designed absolutely brilliant reinforcement systems in the games. Now, I've talked to game developers who have told me that no, of course they don't use psychological consultants when they're designing the structure of the games. I've also talked to game developers who say, yeah, maybe we do. But I think anybody with a psychological background would look at the popular MMOs and see them as absolutely brilliant reinforcement systems. And by that I mean you get rewards for playing. You get rewards constantly, seamlessly. There's a leveling system in the game so that when you start off a new character, you're basically at 1, and then in a very short period of time you complete just a few tasks, and in just a few minutes you're at level 2, and then at level 3, and with each level you get new skills, you get new powers, you get new abilities. But as you go higher and higher into the leveling system, it starts to take longer and longer until when you get to the very high levels in the game, it can take weeks to go to the next level. So you've got a leveling system. You also have an in-game economic system. I realize this is very hard for people to understand who've never played the game. But in order to advance in the game, you have to have currency. In the game I played, Lineage 2, it was called Adena. In World of Warcraft, it's called Gold. But you earn currency in the game for every task you complete. Sometimes you earn large amounts of currency, and it's very much similar to gambling. You never know exactly what you're going to get. There can be some really big prizes for doing certain things, or we could say surprises. So in that way, I did have one developer say it is basically like gambling. I think because it goes on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's in a virtual world that's beautiful. Some of the games are so immersive because of the music, the environment, and because of the social embedding, the friendships people make, their responsibilities that they have in guilds, in clans, various alliances, the friendships that they make. It's very complex, but absolutely brilliant in design in order to get people to not only begin to play and have fun, but to continue to play and to play as much as they possibly can in order to keep advancing in the game. One of the things that's very interesting about that is that, of course, it takes a lot of time to advance in the game, and you also have to play with other people most of the time in the games. You can't really advance beyond a very beginning level as a solo character. So you have various character classes, characteristics, and again, if you haven't played, this is really hard to understand. Any player would know what I'm talking about. But if you're playing with a group, or you're in a guild, you're in a clan, and your clan mates are all playing for 5 or 6 or 8 hours a day, and you're only playing for 1 or 2 hours a day or 1 or 2 hours a week, you're going to be out-leveled very quickly, so you're not going to be able to keep up with your friends, and you won't be able to play with them. They'll be going to different parts of the virtual game world than you'll be going to. They'll have more skills and abilities than you have. They'll have better gear than you have, because of course you have to buy gear every so often when you level up. So there are just so many things to keep you going all the time. The games will have expansion packs that come out every so often, so that there are new places to visit, new adventures to have. And again, it's not just that you're playing a game to get rewards, but it's that you're really in a virtual world, and just being in the world is a reward. So it's just multi-layered, multifaceted, seamless. It goes on all the time, and it's very complex. If we look at the old psychological term of the Skinner box, where you have a rat in a box, pushing a button to get some kind of a reward, a little food pellet or something. This is just the most incredibly complex Skinner box I think that anyone could ever imagine. There are people who say that if the game life is becoming very important to a person, to the point that it becomes more important to them than real life, what I call primary life, and virtual life being secondary life. What's wrong with that? That maybe real life has been very disappointing. Real life in many cases is very difficult for people. They don't have a lot of choices, a lot of potential perhaps in primary life. So why not go into the virtual world where basically anybody can succeed if they just spend enough time there and develop skills in the virtual world? You know, that's something that people can debate, and people can argue about that. And I don't know that I should be the one to make the ultimate value judgment on it, because it really gets back to a question of values. I can say that we are always growing and developing as human beings. We're always developing new skills in primary life, new competencies in primary life. It's obvious during childhood when kids are developing really quickly. Obvious new skills during adolescence, how to date, how to fill out job applications, how to develop social skills. Even as adults, we're learning new things about our jobs, social relationships. I don't think people ever stop growing. The concern, I think, psychologically is that if you become completely immersed and enamored in the secondary world, your primary life begins to waste away. And if that begins to waste away, your development can stop. And the more you become attached to your virtual life, your primary life begins to suffer more and more. And you don't become the person that you could have been, perhaps. So again, perhaps it's arrogant of me to make the assumption that primary life is more important ultimately than secondary life. And there will be people who disagree with me on that. But again, I think it's something that psychologically you can look at and say that people are going to get stuck developmentally if they become completely immersed in the virtual world.